The Black Panther Party was founded by Huey Newton and Bobby Seale in Oakland, California in 1966. They were enraged by the racism they saw, particularly police brutality, and inspired by Malcolm X and the anti-colonial liberation movements of the time. The FBI could not tolerate the Panthers' revolutionary challenge and declared them the top domestic threat. They were relentlessly persecuted. Many of their leading members were either arrested or killed in gun battles. The party represented such a threat to the establishment that one member was still in prison in 2008. I recently spoke to Aaron Dixon, founding member of the Seattle chapter of the Black Panther Party, about his experience and his views of the movements in the US today. You were one of the founding members of the Black Panther Party in the 1960s, and why do you think that the American state came down so hard on the organisation and used such violence to destroy the party?
Well, a lot of it had to do with racism, J. Edgar Hoover hated black people, Richard Nixon hated black people, and they had always tried to keep black people in line, keep them in their place. That was always the thing, keep them in their place. And so the Black Panther Party was an organization that was, we were fed up with American racism. We were fed up with living in ghettos, and we weren't going to take it anymore. And so we came out we were very strong and very vocal about what we wanted and what we believed, and also that it wasn't just confined to black people oppression, that it was confined to all people of color as well as white people, all poor people. And so, we work to unite all the working class and unite poor people, work to unite all oppressed people to address the issues of racism and capitalism in America.
And maybe tell me a little bit about what's going on today in America and what you think about, obviously, the rise of Trump and also the movement of the Black Lives Matter movement and what's going on today.
Yeah, well, a lot has happened between the 1960s and 70s to now. You had Ronald Reagan, who got elected, who brought in a lot of the neoconservative policies. He brought in the whole trickle-down economy. He cut the taxes on the wealthy, he cut funding for the mentally ill. He cut funding for subsidized housing, and that which created the homelessness problem that we have, and all the mental health issues that we have in America. And then you had the crack cocaine epidemic, where under Ronald Reagan, millions of pounds of cocaine was brought into America, and it led to a destabilization of the black family and the black community. And you had the rise of super predatory capitalism in America, where wealth became the most important thing. Greed became a good word, and everybody, was participating in this materialism and this greed, and that led to the housing booms and the housing busts and the homeless people that we have. And then, we were kind of recovering from that, even though we had that period of Bill Clinton centralism and neo-liberalism that kind of lulled people to sleep, to make things that everything was okay in America, and it really wasn't okay in America. And so you had the housing bust, you had all this homeless, and gentrification began to take place, and all these people becoming homeless. That was under Clinton and Obama as well. And then you had Trump, who really brought out the racism and the bigotry that has always existed in America. It had been driven into the closet, because of the civil rights movement, the Black Power movement. But under Trump, that really came out. The true nature of what a lot of Americans were feeling and a lot of what Americans were thinking really came out. And you see that being played out every day. You see these little micro racial prejudices that are being coming out of just regular people, and you know, the tension and the polarization that it has created. But it's been good. It's been good because when you have a contradiction and two forces collide in that contradiction, you know, something comes out of that, and that's what you're having. You're having these two forces that are colliding, and so you have a growing movement of people understanding that white white supremacy is very strong, and white privilege is something that has always existed. So you have a lot of people, white people, who are being recognizing about their own white privilege and are looking at that whole idea of white privilege. And you have a lot of people that are organizing against what's happening with the migrants, and people start paying a lot more attention to what happened with the prison industrial complex that imprisoned 2.5 million people in prison, mostly of them black and Latino. For the first time, they're looking at passing a prison reform law, even under Trump. And so, you know.
So you think there's hope for Americans?
We better act, and we better act fast. And I think, you know, as things get worse with the global warming, because that is the number one issue facing all of us. That's the number one issue facing all humanity, is global warming. And you know, with these right-wing leaders taking power in all these countries, they are all kind of curbing the fight against global warming. You know, Bolsonaro in Brazil is talking about cutting down the whole Amazon forest, you know, and Trump has pulled out of the Paris Accords and has turned back a lot of the environmental programs that Obama put in place for clean air in America. And so, you know, this is very frightening, very scaring. And for the first time, I think this past summer and this past winter, more and more people are realizing, hey, maybe this isn't a Chinese hoax, as Trump said. Maybe there is really something, maybe we are messing up our environment, you know, because we have all this famine, we have all this heat, you know, we have these horrible hurricanes, we have the red tide that happened in Florida. I think a lot of people in Florida for the first time recognize that, you know, the type of politicians that we're electing to office are going to make our environment worse. So, you know, you see some glimmer of hope there. This past election they had in 2018 in the U.S., where we elected a lot of women of color, a lot of young women who are saying some really very promising and powerful things, and hopefully we're getting rid of that old guard, that whole neoliberal guard that was in the Black Panther Party, in the Democratic Party. Hopefully we're going to push them out and bring in a new wave, you know. And so that's been very exciting, and that's bringing in a lot of hope that yeah, maybe we could change things. And I think, you know the right wing powers that are coming to power in a lot of countries, I think they're going to make conditions so bad that people are really going to eventually push them out. But we got to get a new wave of thinking. We have to have people that are more rebellious. You know, we have to have people that are more revolutionary, who are willing to take really bold steps and not these pacification baby steps that aren't going to really do anything. But we have to take some bold revolutionary steps that are going to really change the way, the conditions and the way that people are being treated, and the way that the environment needs to be changed. That has to be very bold in terms of getting rid of fossil fuel and getting rid of coal, which has been has had some great victories in getting rid of coal. But we got to get rid of fossil fuel. We got to get rid of anything that is destroying our environment, destroying our water, destroying our air, so that future human beings won't no longer be able to exist.